Hey everybody, it's Tim Baldermann and welcome to this edition of Too Honest for Social Media, where we talk about local, state, and federal issues, things that affect us here at home. I've got two really important guests with me here today from the Heroin Organization. I've got Jan Dombrowski and Jason Moss. We're going to hear to talk a little bit about Hero and what it does and how important it is in not only our community, but throughout all the communities locally. So Jan, why don't we start out a little bit, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the organization.
Okay. Many years ago, my husband and I did foster care, and most of the children we got were drug-addicted babies. And I didn't realize that I would use that information later on when my nephew at one time was a drug addict, homeless, riding the trains in Chicago. And he called me one day and said, "Auntie, I haven't eaten for 3 days. Can you please just bring me some food? I'm not asking for money. I just need some food." So me thinking I was going to help him, I bought food, took it down to Chicago, met him, gave it to him, and he turned around and sold the food for money to buy dope. And so I enabled him when I thought I was helping him, and I thought, I have to learn more. And at that time, Hero was just starting in New Lenox, and New Lenox was really, even though they had their first meeting in Homer, New Lenox was the one that helped them grow. So I learned how to help my nephew, and I'm proud to say that as of last November, he had 14 years sober, graduated
Amazing.
college on the dean's list, got married, has a baby, is doing wonderful. And then I have my husband's nephew, who I finally got him into treatment after many, many years in active addiction, and he has a year and 2 months sober and is doing amazing.
Oh, those are great stories. We'll get a little
wonderful.
bit more into that too, and we'll talk about something you said that's really important, especially when it's a family member or a loved one. That difference between enabling and helping, and it comes with good intentions. So you can't be too hard on yourself. But the more you know, the more prepared you are to help people who truly are struggling with addiction. That's great. We'll talk a lot about that. Thanks, Jan. All right, Jason, how about you?
So I got involved with Hero roughly 7.5 years ago. I remember coming out of treatment, west side of Chicago, and a guy was speaking, and he said, "What are you doing next?" And I said, "I'm going to go home, and I'm going to take care of my kids." And he said, "That it doesn't work that way." He's like, "Come to Joliet. We got an HA meeting in New Lenox. You'll learn how to stay sober." I said, "Okay." So we had our HA meeting in a church over here in New Lenox, and I got introduced to Jan. About 4 years ago, I got asked to be on the board. Heroes allowed me to go to schools, meet with families. It's a different perspective, if you will, from somebody that's been through the ringer, who's manipulated family members. We can see it. I tell everybody it's your job as family to love them. It's our job to help them get sober.
Right.
It's two different angles to look at it. So Heroes afford that luxury, and I'm blessed to be here.
Well, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your sobriety and being where you're at and taking care of business. As we get into this, I know we'll talk about how no matter how many years it's been, it's something that's got to be at the forefront of your mind every single
100%.
day. All right, well, let's here in New Lenox, as the mayor, and I'm a former police chief, a former 22-year law enforcement, a 2-time international narcotics enforcement award winner. So I've been involved in many, many narcotics cases, hundreds of them over the years, but it was just from the criminal justice standpoint. And that was important because we do have laws and we have to enforce them. And although we always tried to be very decent with the people that we arrested, we knew they had addiction and needed help. Our job was just enforcement. And so as the mayor, I did want to do more, not only by supporting organizations like Hero, and you can get into some of the other things that we collectively do through our Safe Communities Coalition, but wanted to really do what I could to help you erase the stigma of addiction. And the thought that people think, oh, it's only people who come from bad families, that come from poor families, that come from bad neighborhoods, that sort of thing. And so here in working with our police department, we even said, hey, look, if somebody has an issue and they're really trying to get some help, they can contact our police department and say, hey, I'm a drug addict. I have issues. I have drugs with me, but I need help. And we will not arrest them and have them prosecuted. We will get them help. So that's what we're trying to do on our end. But we can't do it alone. So let's talk about the partnerships that you have with the Village of New Lenox.
Well, there's been a lot. We have our Hidden in Plain Sight trailer, which we keep up to date, and we show adults, because you have to be 18 or older to get in there, what signs may indicate drug, alcohol, or some mental health issues. Like we have it looks like a smartwatch, and you can vape through it, and any drug can be liquefied, and so they're liquefying fentanyl, and they can vape it. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
They're making their own fentanyl patches out of the essential oil bracelets, and there's a lot of hiding spots. So the police department gave us some money to start that program, and every year they give us some of their asset forfeiture money to keep it running. And last year we went to almost 100, was it 100 trailer events?
98.
98 trailer events, and educated thousands and thousands of people. And we pass out information. And then New Lenox was the first town that offered Narcan training to the community. And then once COVID hit, we started doing it more virtually. And now most of the time it's done virtually. There are still some in-person Narcan training. And some of the other towns in Will County have started this, but New Lenox was the forerunner of that.
Thank you. We're really happy to do that, but again, we can't do it on our own, and we need people who have educated themselves and really know. That Hidden in Plain Sight trailer is fascinating. I've been through it, and Jason, maybe you can shed some light on this. When I was running a tactical unit, which was all the way back in 2000 and 1996 through 2001, you were looking for the hairspray can that unscrewed from the bottom. I mean, it wasn't really much more sophisticated than that. It was when we did a search warrant, you'd go through the pockets of a shirt or something in a closet. But the things that I learned, even having 22 years of law enforcement experience through going through that Hidden in Plain Sight trailer, were fascinating. And now you're talking about even more. How do you help parents with that? Because, I mean, this is just incredible, the way that they are finding, that addicts are finding ways to hide their drugs.
Well, I mean, the truth is, like anything in life, the sooner you get to it, any problem, the better chances of success you have. So, for me being in recovery, I can see things in my kids' room that are red flags.
Sure.
There's a lot of families, like you said, that you don't know these things. And when you wait till the 11th hour to address a problem, you might not make it to the 12th hour. So seeing these warning signs, I was talking to one police officer, when he started his career, it was suitcases and duffel bags.
Yeah, right.
They're the size of the amount of fentanyl it takes to kill somebody. You're looking in a CD case, in a pen cap,
Right.
So a lot of these warning signs are good for parents that, my kid doesn't have a problem. Well, they just pick something up from a friend to try. That could be the one time they try and die,
That's right.
So having that where parents can see it. We went to a college, and RAs were looking through the trailer. Those are all good warning signs, for people to kind of raise a red flag and say, look, I need to do something about this, or find resources for somebody.
That's great. You talked about something really important at the beginning of this podcast, and trying to help your nephews out. And first of all, if people are going to be honest, there isn't a family out there that isn't struggling with something. Whether it's addiction, whether it's mental health, there's no perfect family out there that doesn't have some sort of problem. So talk a little bit, both of you, please, about how you deal with somebody that maybe is manipulating you, but you love them and you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Probably if you come on too strong, they're just going to go away and you're going to lose that opportunity. What are their strategies and tips? I mean, what would you say to a parent out there that is faced with this with their child and they're just not sure how to get started in addressing it?
I had to learn that I couldn't help them go into recovery. I could suggest it, but they had to make the decision. And so was I going to make their life easy in their addiction? No. And that's hard for a lot of parents. It was hard for me. You know, I'm a caretaker,
Right.
and I wanted to take care of them, and it could have killed them. You know, when my nephew sold that food for drugs, he could have overdosed and died.
Right.
And I don't want anybody to feel that. My husband and I lost our 15-year-old son 20 years ago to something called spontaneous tuberous sclerosis. Very rare, and usually the first symptom is death. And after that happened, people came to our doors. They rang the doorbell. They brought casseroles. They sent cards. They helped write thank you notes. People were there, and they continued to be there. And I have gone to so many people's homes where if their child dies of a drug overdose or suicide, their doorbell's not ringing, their phone's not ringing, there's no casseroles.
You know what? I've never thought of it that way. And I think a lot of it, correct me if I'm wrong, is because they don't know what to say. They don't know what
We
to
talked
say
about
to
that,
somebody.
you know.
Yeah, go ahead, talk a little bit about
Well, I mean,
that, Jason.
Just to take a step back,
Yeah.
there is no crystal ball.
Right.
Like we can't say, do this and this will happen when it comes to recovery. You got to be, we call it the gift of desperation. You got to be desperate enough to change. You know, when I talk to families, it's not about tough love. I don't like that word.
Yeah.
We talk to people about loving differently. The way you were showing love, it wasn't working. You know, that's the old analogy. What's insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again. You know, so we encourage families to find a different way to show you love them. That might be not bailing you out of jail. That might be not lying to your job when you overslept. You know, that is not tough love. That's me showing you I love. I'm doing everything I possibly can to help you get your life on track by not doing some of the things I was doing, call it enabling, whatever, you know.
Sure.
So those things will change. You know, that's what we try and encourage people to do. But there's no crystal ball. We can't shake a wand and say, when you do this, this will happen. There's always some negative outcomes sometimes, you know. But what we can tell you is what we see, the more you keep doing the same thing for us, you know, people struggling with addiction, the same results are going to happen.
Yeah.
Jails, institutions, and death.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, we're in this struggle as a society right now where we don't feel like incarceration is the answer. And certainly I think when we're dealing with somebody who has an addiction, incarceration on its own is not the answer. So there has to be consequences
100%.
For actions, but we really do need to make it go hand in hand. We can be strong in enforcing our laws, but we have to be compassionate and realize that we're dealing with addiction. And so that's really got to be a struggle too. You've talked a little bit before and with my assistant Megan, and we talked a little bit about this. What struggles do you face? And I know you're now stepping back a little bit from Hero, but still, of course, giving of your time. When you're out talking to either mayors or police departments about wanting to bring programs there or put Narcan in a village hall or put a poster up or something, what kind of resistance are you getting?
When we first started Your Light Still Shines some years ago, which is an event where we recognize those who have died of either a poisoning or an overdose, we do Narcan training, we have speakers, there's resources for people to come and help. The drug court, Will County Drug Court, which I can't say enough good things about, has a table there. Sober living homes are there. And we had made a poster, and I was taking it to different towns, and I got so much pushback. They said, you know, that may affect the resale value of the homes in the area. And, you know, I was just kind of speechless, and I thought, okay, well, you know. on to the next town, and I come here, and Dan Martin had printed out a great big poster and put it on the big stand right by the front door. So when people walked in, that's the first thing they saw.
That's right.
And we've always been welcome. The police department has been wonderful. New Lenox was the first police department that we trained. And Jason went to the DEA with me some years ago and trained DEA agents. And one of the agents came up to me afterwards and said, I thought, we're DEA, what are they going to teach us? They said, you took us to school today.
Yeah, I believe it.
And another one said, I always looked at them meaning addicts, as criminals. He said, they put a face on it. I'm going to look at them differently now. And I think that's one of the biggest compliments I think I've ever heard for Hero.
You're right. And I could imagine it is, because when we are, again, it's that fine line. We live in a society where you have to be on a side. It's either, addicts are all criminals, they all belong in jail, and there's an issue, or, oh no, almost to the point where there's so much wanting to take care of them that it becomes enabling. There is a middle road here, and there is a job, there is a role for everybody to play, but it's amazing to me that if you go to other communities and there's resistance, do they think that they don't have people who live in their communities that are struggling with addiction? You can go to the most affluent community in Illinois or any other state, and there's all kind of addiction that takes place there.
Definitely. And one of the fastest growing demographics of people becoming addicted are senior citizens.
Now, is that because of pain medication that they're on? Is
Something
that,
always
opiates,
hurts, and you may go
yeah.
to several doctors, and they don't tell the next doctor what the previous doctor had given them, or maybe they forget they took their pill or didn't give it long enough to kick in, so they take another one. And so, yeah, that's one of the fastest growing demographics, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I believe that. I believe that. So talk from your experience. When you were struggling with that, and I know, again, you're in recovery, that's outstanding. When you were going through this, how easy was it for you to manipulate others to try and get what you wanted, and then lead to what finally was that breaking point that you were fortunate that you lived long enough to get to? What was that breaking point where you said, I need help, I'm going to get help? And then I'll give you a third part. Did you slide, or did you, so talk a little bit about that. Talk about first about manipulating others to getting what you want.
So I battled my addiction for 30 years.
Okay.
I picked up my first drink or drug at 12 years old. So my whole teen, adolescent life was master manipulator. My dad died from this disease. He was one of my best party buddies, and he saved me. He knew he went to church with a lawyer that, golfed with a judge. I caught a serious felony and didn't face any consequences. Back to your point about consequences. Consequences are huge.
Yeah.
My life ripping and running, I was bred and I learned how to manipulate. That's how you get things. That's how you stay safe. That's how you survive. I remember my first counselor at my treatment center. He would repeat my stuff back to me, what I'd say to him, and he'd ask me, does that sound like BS? I'm like, yeah, it does. See, you say it long enough, you believe it yourself.
Sure, yeah.
Recovery has also allowed me to look at myself, the parts I played in it. I prolonged it by using bad traumas that happened to me, and then manipulating people's approach to that. Oh, well, this happened to him, for my gain.
Sure.
So to your point, the ability to have people in my face, my family can't do it. My sister would always say, well, Jay, you got the shit end. I'm sorry.
No, you can swear. That's okay. I do agree.
My sister would always say, Jay, you got the shit end of the stick as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, that's why. And
Yeah.
my family would always, bail me out, or mom would pay for a lawyer. She lives in Cleveland and would send money. And, it wasn't until I found recovery where guys would look at me and say, yeah, that sucks that happened to you.
So what happened? What was that breaking point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm really not going to make it another day?
So I quit work on payday. I have a really great job.
Okay.
I quit work. Went back. I was living with a woman who was helping me raise 2 kids that weren't hers.
Okay.
I told her I can't be a dad, but wasn't really a dad. She was handling everything.
Sure.
And I went to my dad's house. He was ran a Fortune 500 company, and towards the end of his life, he was renting a room in Hazelcrest, the south suburb.
Yeah.
So I'm on his floor. I take enough heroin not to wake up in the morning, and I wake up.
Okay.
And I got to a point where I couldn't live that way any longer, and I hate to say it, couldn't successfully kill myself.
Right.
And I had a missed call on my phone, and it was from a treatment center. So I'd love to tell everybody I went into treatment to get my life together, get my kids. I went to prove people wrong. That people like me, the stuff I've done, the people I've hurt, the kids I've abandoned, we can't get sober. So I made a commitment for 30 days. I'm going to do everything they asked me to do. And I had guys in there that would call me on my BS.
Sure.
My family wouldn't do it.
Right.
The judge, after having friends with this person, wouldn't do it. Oh, he's got a drug problem.
Yeah.
We'll let him slide.
Yeah.
But they called me on my BS. After 30 days, they asked me what I was going to do. They said, no, you're not going home, because home is where you're ruining your life. Come to Joliet. Go to sober living. Learn how to live. I got sober at 40.
Wow.
So the thought of being in a house where someone had to tell me, clean this toilet, be home at this time, go to these meetings. The reality of it is, I needed that structure in my life. A lot of us, to go from surviving every day to planning your day is not as easy as it is maybe for you guys,
Sure, yeah.
but for us. That survivor mentality doesn't work in the real world.
Yeah.
You got to plan your day. You got to budget your money. You got to budget your time. Like, all that has to happen when you go from ripping and running for years. That's a wake-up call.
Sure.
So, and then you couple in there legal responsibilities, financial responsibilities, family responsibilities. It gets overwhelming. So I was fortunate, and I encourage everybody to find a sober living. I love my family to death, but they couldn't help me get sober.
Yeah.
So
you needed organizations like Hero. You needed
100%.
people to step in.
And when, not to cut you off.
No, go, yeah.
Your light still shines.
Yeah.
That last year I walked in there, and there was 8 different sober living companies.
That's awesome.
People don't realize, and I'm not versed in the politics and the finances of when it comes to insurance and treatment centers.
Sure.
You're lucky to get 28 days in treatment. That's not enough time to find your path in recovery.
Yeah.
There's tons of ways to recover, so I'm not going to get in that debate.
Sure.
12 steps work for me.
Yeah.
Sober living works.
Yeah.
It works. That's what we encourage. So seeing 8 different companies or organizations there, that's a needed opportunity for people to get their life together.
Yeah, no, that Your Light Still Shines event, Jan, is really, obviously I'm there every year, and somebody is always with me, my assistant or somebody, and I make the same comment all the time as I'm going through and I'm looking at all the pictures. And there is not just a demographic that's represented there. There is young, there is old, there is male, there is female, there is black, there is white, there is Hispanic, there's, all up and down the board. And I'm sure, and you can't tell just from the photos, but I'm sure there is poor, there is middle income, and there is wealthy. It's all there. And you see so many young lives in particular that are gone. It's just heartbreaking.
I want to tell you 3 stories.
I want you to, because what I want to say to you, you lost a child in a different way, but it would be understandable if people just crumbled losing a child. But it's really amazing to me when somebody goes through the most heartbreaking tragedy imaginable, that they pick themselves up and say, I'm going to do what I can
It took
for
me a while.
others. Oh, I bet. I would understand it if you could never do it. I would never. I've lost a brother and a sister, and I've said that to my parents. I don't know how they ever managed to get up the next morning. But go ahead and tell me your stories, because they're really inspirational, these events.
So last year, we helped 3 people that came to Your Light Still Shines for the first time get into treatment. One of them, she didn't stay very long and is still out running and gunning.
Yep.
But the other 2 are doing well.
I love it.
Another story, there was a mom who, her daughter got into mom's dope. Daughter was 2, and 2-year-olds put things in their mouth.
Sure.
And so she brought me a picture. I'm going to try to say this without crying.
Ah.
And as we're putting the picture into a frame, she said to me, "Hold out your hand." So I went like this, and she said, "No, do this." So I did, and she reached into her purse, put something in my hand, closed my fingers over it, and said, "Take good care," and walked away. And when I opened my hand, it was the cross that her child was wearing when she died. And I had that picture on my desk. And every morning when I would get to work, I would say hello, and then I would say the child's name. And when I'd leave, I'd say, "Well, good night." And when I retired, I brought her home with me. So she's on my desk at home.
I've heard you tell that story, and you're just as emotional as you were the last time, and I understand that, and you're making a difference. I mean, you're Jason. You too. You weren't somebody that lost a child to this. You were that child that was, however you want to say, by the grace of God or whatever it was, certainly with the intervention of some amazing people here to talk about it today. But it'd be really easy for someone like you to say, look, it's still a struggle for me. I got to just take care of myself and my own life and my family and whatnot. But for you to say, but no, I need to go do more for others, that's impressive.
I mean, I would love to, I say it all the time, act like I just wanted to get my life together.
Yeah.
My younger daughter spoke at Your Light Still Shines last year. I go to softball games, be a grandfather for the first time.
Nice.
None of this would be possible if guys didn't take their time with me.
Yeah.
Not one iota of it. So, to me to sit back and say, okay, I got here, and not give back, I wouldn't feel right about myself, because I was dead.
Yeah.
For all practical purposes, I was walking dead for years. I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I didn't know love, didn't know commitment, didn't have a relationship with my kids. To have all that because of other people, not because of me. Yeah, I did put in the work.
Sure.
But the work was shown to me.
Sure.
So to think that I don't have an obligation, and my program says that, but personally, if I felt like I didn't have that obligation, that's kind of selfish.
Well,
If it wasn't for people like Jason, I say this all the time, he has taught me so much, and other people in recovery or even in active addiction have taught me, and I could take that knowledge and use it to help somebody else. The reason we have all those special things in the trailer is because people like Jason use those.
And they're telling you, hey, don't forget to add this. Well, it's true. And I remember, even when I was younger in Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and they would, when you had the victim impact panel, when you had the people who lost loved ones to drunk driving or whatever, it really does make you sit up. And when you're hearing from somebody who, for whatever reason, is here today and by all rights probably shouldn't be. Like I said, you tried
100%.
to kill yourself with all the heroin that you could. That's really impactful, and it gives hope. It really gives hope.
I'm not 100% relatable with parents.
Sure.
Jan says it all the time that, I talk with parents and they say, oh, give them inspiration. My kid can.
Yeah.
But I can relate, I'm 8 years sober.
Yeah.
But I can relate that look in people's eyes, when they're talking about how their day went. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
That pain that you're feeling that nobody else sees, I can feel it. I relate to it, So to know that I was there, on that brink of not wanting to live and now being blessed with a life today, I want everybody to have it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
I say it all the time. I don't get into all the politics, but when I got sober here, and it was event after event, New Lenox, man. I mean, so I've spoken other places, and we're down in another county. You don't see it,
Right.
And I don't know. I'm not here to tote your whistle, and I don't get onto the whole politics, but what you're doing is not being done everywhere.
Yeah, and that has to stop. And it's easy to say, oh, we are going to erase the stigma. And I, not to talk about myself either, but at the police department, I always made sure for my entire career, from a detective all the way through chief of police, that when we had a murder, a suicide, someone was killed in an accident, that I delivered the news. Because I lost a 19-year-old brother to suicide, and I've talked about that at events that we've had. I lost a 4-year-old sister to pneumonia. Now, I was little, so I was younger than her, so I don't remember her. But this can happen to anybody. You saw it, I'm sure. First of all, you said your father was extremely successful, and he ended up destitute in East Hazelcrest or Hazelcrest, and you've seen it with the parents that you've talked to. This can affect anyone, and it can affect anyone at any time. And so when I see, I'm especially disappointed when I see elected officials, and it's not Republican, Democrat, it's just elected officials that don't take this seriously. It's disappointing, but when I see things online, and it's just a drug head, it's just a doper, it's just a whatever, tomorrow that's your kid, or that's your nephew, or that's your spouse, or in your case you just spoke about, that's your father, that's your mother. So we have to stop this callousness, and there has to be the middle ground. Yes, we need our police out there enforcing narcotics. They got to be out there doing their job.
Definitely.
They have to be out there doing their job. But if the only avenue is either people are dying from addiction, or they're getting thrown into jail and there's no hope for them, because very seldom are you thrown into jail for the rest of your natural born life. So you're going to come out, and if you didn't get any help or treatment while you were there. So how about we avoid both of those? How about, to the best we can, we avoid young people or anyone dying from this, and we avoid having to rely on prisons, and support groups like Hero and people like you who are out there trying to make a difference, because it can happen to anyone at any time.
The specialty courts in Will County are superb, and we work in a lot of different counties. Jim Glasgow has not only drug court but mental health court, which is huge because a lot of people are dual diagnosis.
Sure.
And veterans court.
Yeah.
And also, Will County has RCCJ, which is Recovery Community Center of Joliet. So let's say somebody goes into treatment for 28 days. What do you do on day 29? They have a program called Day 29.
Great.
You go down there, you get a recovery coach, because if you've been in addiction a long time, you don't know how to make a doctor's appointment. You don't know how to file your taxes, do a resume, whatever. And so they teach you how to do all those things. How to get a driver's license, whatever you need. And they do a lot of fun things. They just had a fishing day. There's also something called Postock, which I'm sure you've heard of Woodstock.
Yes, of course.
So it's a sober version of Woodstock.
I love it.
And it's a 3-day festival.
Yeah.
And I think this year, it's going to be in Villa Park.
Okay.
I think. I don't remember. Anyway, and there's picnics, and Jason talked about HA, which is Heroin Anonymous. They do a lot of fun things, because becoming sober does not mean the fun is over.
Right.
You can have a lot of fun, just in a different way. And this way you'll remember your fun.
That's right. And you bring up a great point. You get through the treatment, and even if it was successful for you, if there's no one there to support you the next day, it's very easy to slide
100%.
back. Very, very easy to slide. We've had Jim Glasgow on this program before, and Jim has done a phenomenal job with that sort of thing. And he's a serious prosecutor, and we're very fortunate to have him from that. But he also is a compassionate human being, and I think that's what we all need to do. We just have some compassion. That doesn't mean you enable. It doesn't mean you give in, but it means, hey, this is a disease. This is an addiction. Mental health issues are something we need to talk about. They do go hand in hand quite frequently. You're correct. And so I just think if we all as human beings just were a little kinder to each other, we can help solve some of these problems. Not going to solve them all.
Right.
No.
But we go a long way.
And the consequences, we keep speaking about them, are huge. The specialty courts, I was involved in it early on.
Yeah.
But the key to those are, you are facing the consequences for your behavior. Now it's in your power to kind of justify if those consequences should be laid out, stayed, or, so having that option, that allows me to work on myself, to show the courts or even show myself that I can do things I didn't think I could do. We talk about stigma. How you erase stigma is speaking out.
Yeah.
We could sit here and say, you got people that's considered these nasty drug addicts.
Yeah.
The more nasty drug addicts that recover and give back and speak about it,
Right.
that image changes.
Right.
Me and Jan talked about it on the way here. You'll never tell somebody that their thinking is wrong if they haven't seen the difference.
Sure.
So if their only vision of a drug addict is what they see on TV or they saw downtown or they see under a bridge, that's their image.
Yeah.
So having events where people speak, having families that say, hey, my kid recovered, I'm here to help you with your kid.
Yeah.
That's what changes the stigma.
Sure. Or my kid didn't recover, and I'm here to help you
Yep.
with your kid because I see where that's at. Yeah, it is. Again, I'll say it. I'll say it one more time because unfortunately, in society today, it bears repeating. We're human beings. There shouldn't be sides. There shouldn't be sides, and there is a middle ground, and there is a time for treatment always. But there's also a time for enforcement. So there's a way that we can all live together here. But no matter what it is, even if we're enforcing, that should never take away our humanity, our compassion for others. I think that's where it starts. Because we've all seen in our lives too many times someone who's critical of somebody else, and then it happens in their family, and they're looking for, oh, now I understand. Oh, now you understand after you were nasty to everybody else. Now that it's happened to you, you want that kind of compassion. Let's lead with compassion.
And not all police departments carry Narcan.
Yeah, they should.
And actually, Hero is now providing Narcan to 3 police departments.
I love it.
The third one just a couple weeks ago got their first delivery of Narcan.
Why would you not? I mean, what is the thought that we're better off that someone just ODs and we don't save that? I mean, what is the thought process there? I know, like any profession, whether you're a teacher, you're a policeman, it's not like it used to be 40 years ago. You now have to be a social worker. You have to do all these things. So maybe there are some police departments that are resistant, saying, hey, I'm not a paramedic, I'm not a this. But when you're talking about life and death, I mean, we all take an oath in law enforcement or what, that you're going to do what you can to protect life, property, all that. Why would you not?
My motto is,
care?
as long as there's life, there's hope.
Yeah, I love it.
And some of the police officers say, well, we've had to Narcan that person numerous times, and it's a waste of resources, and there's other crime that's out there. And usually I come back with, what if it was your child?
Yeah.
Would you want a police officer to revive them?
That's right. That's right. But if it's not affecting their family at the moment, doesn't matter so much. We do need to have a broader understanding of what's going on there.
And I had a police officer, I asked him to come into the trailer and take a tour. He said, no, I just took this class. I know it. And I said, you know what? I'll give you $5 out of my purse if you come in and tell me all these things on the desk, what they are. So he walked in there and he looked down at the desk and he reached around, pulled out his wallet and handed me a $10 bill and said, teach me.
Good for him. At least he was honest enough to know. Yeah. This is good stuff. Again, Jan, you say you've retired, but clearly you haven't.
No.
You are out there making a difference in people's lives. Thank you for your service. Not only as the mayor, but more importantly, just as a human being. I appreciate for all you've been through and how you continue to give to others. You've made a big difference in more lives than I'm sure you will ever know. And Jason, congratulations on your recovery and your willingness to go out there and make a difference, as I'm sure over the last 8 years you've made a difference in so many people's lives as well, and that you'll continue to do that. And we continue to pull for you, that because I know recovery never ends, does it?
Did you see his shirt?
Let's see what it says here. I'm here to be the voice for every friend I ever lost. Yeah. And you're the voice for a lot of people that you didn't even know.
Carrying a message is key. I'm fortunate. I don't wake every day struggling. Right. I was taught by some great people that my disease it will always be there.
Sure.
And I was kind of taught I keep my disease at rest by giving back and helping others. So I do that, you know, and there's nothing like the feeling of seeing someone 6 months, a year down the road with a different glow, a different look in their face, you know.
A new life.
Yeah. And that's, you know, you get overwhelmed. You get kind of, you know, when you look at the numbers, you know, yes, overdoses, deaths are going down. And it was taught to me early on, I just got to help one person.
Yeah.
That one person helps one person.
That's right.
That one person, and I got 5 people, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and it sounds cliche to say, well, even if you make a difference in one person's life, but I'll tell you what, if it's my kid, I'm grateful. Even if that's the only life, you know, I'm grateful.
And I can tell you one life making a difference in one, like you just said, someone made a difference in my life.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate, not just with my kids, but I've been fortunate to touch many lives.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was just one person, you know. So the resources available, I was blessed, you know. Things were afforded to me, you know. That's where Hero stepped in, Sober Living stepped in. You know, a lot of us are down on our luck financially when we get there, you know. So those are the things that help, you know, and having those resources. But it's a battle that can be won.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's a great message.
And if somebody needs help, contact the office here, I'm guessing.
100%.
And you can contact us if you have a loved one who is in active addiction. We can help. We don't charge a dime for our services, and we take donations, obviously, because you know, we have bills to pay. But you know, we'll help them get into treatment. We'll help them find resources.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we had the Veterans Commission on here in one of our previous podcasts just a few weeks ago. I think there's something like 46,000 veterans in Will County that they don't even know that place exists, and they help people with this, like you talked about, with resumes and mental health services and dealing with PTSD and that sort of thing. And so Hero is out there. There are other organizations out there. Seek out the help. But you're right. In this community here, my assistant Megan is phenomenal. She's now really involved in Safe Communities and is doing a great job. And when she says, "Hey, we put the Narcan out here," I said, "You damn right you can."
Right.
We will continue to do that, but we can't as a village. We're proud to support you. It's you guys are the ones who are doing
We're thankful.
the work. All right, so you're going to hit me on. You're going to hit me on air for something. Go ahead. What do you got?
So, one thing that we see, is when people get sober, they have these non-alcoholic bars, a music festival, with a sober music festival, where people could come out, non-sober people could come out and see that this life of getting your life together, living productive with your families, is not. You're sitting in a room, reading a big book, smoking a cigarette, drinking a cup of coffee. That we get out, we have a good time.
Yeah.
This life is rewarding sober.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm as transparent as I can be, and I am incredibly transparent. We put a lot of events on here, including Music Fest, and they're expensive. And to be perfectly candid with you, how we're able to pay for them and keep the prices low is with alcohol, and that's really true.
Yeah, 100%.
But I will, when we get up from this podcast, I will go see Beth over in our community engagement. She runs all those events for us, and we will absolutely partner with you. We can put a concert event out here where the message is sobriety and the message is coming together and enjoying yourself.
And there's local bands that are sober.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
I mean, it'd be not entertaining, educating to know those dollar amounts, because I'm not naive to business and costs of stuff. So
no, we'll find a way,
because there is definitely ways we could fundraise.
There are good people that would help sponsor that and support it. You have my commitment, and Beth normally gets upset when I tell her to add one more thing to the calendar, but she's a great, compassionate human being too, and I know she's going to be excited when I tell her about this.
Well, thank you very much.
No, we'll work with you on it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much for your time.
Congratulations on your so-called retirement.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Don, thank you for everything that you always do for us. This is important. Before I sign off today, normally I just sign off, but please do your part. Each and every one of you can do your part. Donations are always helpful, but forget that. Be compassionate. If you don't have $1 to spare, be compassionate, be kind, be understanding. Truly help erase the stigma. I got to believe that having that kind of support helps somebody through their recovery as well. We have to do better as human beings in this regard, in regards of mental and emotional health. Just in general, we should be better human beings, and you two are amazing human beings. So thank you for everything that you do, and thank you to each and every one for watching this edition of Too Honest for Social Media.